Okay, today we are going to review by starting talking about landforms. What I'm going to do is I'm going to describe a landform and you have to tell me which landform I'm talking about. A flat, and raise your hand. A flat or level area of land.
Plain.
Very good. That would be a plain, and the plain is right here. All right, that is the plain. Those of you messing with your books need to stop now. I don't need you to do that. I need you to look up here on the chart. Right here. All right. What about a mountain with openings in the earth's crust through which lava escapes? Jonathan?
Volcano.
Yes, very good. There's the volcano right there. A lowland between hills or mountains. Paige?
Valley.
Valleys, very good. And that would be, even between those mountains, there would be valleys. It's hard to tell because they just seem to be running together, but this is the major valley that they're showing you. Where the river is running through the valley, that would be the valley. What about raised areas of lands? Abby?
A hill.
A hill or a mountain. The hills are not as big as the mountains, okay? So that would be sort of a hill. I think this one looks sort of like a hill, but these are mountains. Right? What about an area of land completely surrounded by water? Somebody who hasn't answered. If you've already answered, put your hands down. Okay, Adam.
I didn't want to say that, but valley is our spelling word.
Yes, well, valleys, because we're doing the plural. Okay? Well, can you tell me an area of land completely surrounded by water? Liam?
Island.
Island. An island. An area of land completely surrounded by water would be an island. Alright, somebody is messing around back there. I should not hear that. Stop doing that, please. Attention should be up here. A piece of land that is almost completely surrounded by water. Almost completely.
Peninsula.
Very good, peninsula, and that would be this one right here, peninsula. Peninsula, Florida is a peninsula, right? What about a natural stream of water that flows into a lake or ocean?
A river.
Yes, a river, and there's the river flowing. What about a large body of fresh water surrounded by land? A large body of fresh water surrounded by land.
Oasis. Lake.
A lake, yes, that is a lake. Okay. What about land too dry or too cold for plants to grow? Have you answered already? You're supposed to be putting your hands down if you have answered already. Yes.
Desert.
Desert, very good.
Mountain.
What about a desert area with a supply of water, usually from a spring or a well?
Oasis.
Yes, that is the oasis. What about an area of low, wet, soft land? An area of low, wet, soft land.
Marsh.
Marsh, very good. That's that right there, marsh. And a deep, narrow pass between steep heights. A deep, narrow pass between steep heights. Gorge, very good, gorge. Right there, that would be your gorge. And I don't see the definition for waterfall. But we did learn waterfall, didn't we?
Yep.
But I don't see a definition for it at all.
Is it on the
But
back?
anyway, you know that's the waterfall, okay? When a river is flowing and it falls over a cliff, that would be considered a waterfall. Now what we're gonna do now is look at some of these landforms on the map of the United States. Alright, so this is the Appalachian Mountains, alright? Remember we said when they were in Georgia that was the Blue Ridge Mountains? This is part of the Appalachian Mountains, the whole thing, but down here in Georgia, that was the Blue Ridge. Alright, then we got the Mississippi River and the Ohio River, and then Niagara Falls would be right here. This is Niagara Falls, so that would be a waterfall. Okay, then we have lakes, we have the Great Lakes. All of these lakes are considered the Great Lakes. They're at the top of the United States. Alright, we have a coral reef down here below Florida. We have the Everglades, which would be a marshy area in Florida. Over here we have have the Atlantic Ocean, right? And I think that's all we've covered so far. Okay, so let's move these off so that we can look at the Northeast region. And these are so strong, I can't even get them off the board now. They're very strong magnets, but they would not hold my charts up with 2 layers. I was trying to get it to hold the chart up with 2 layers and it would not do that. Hey, whoops. I'll pick it up later, don't worry about it. Alright, eyes on the board. Let's make sure the Alright, you guys ready?
Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey,
Ooh, you guys are getting good at this. Alright, let's do the Southeast region.
Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, Virginia.
Very good. Don't say them until I point to them, please. Alright, we are going to start reading about Dolly Madison today. So be on page 145. We don't have a lot of ladies in the book, but this is another one of them. Dolly Madison. Notice the way her name is spelled with E-Y. It's sort of like Valley. Okay, life as a Quaker. Are we all there? I'm going to use that marker. Dolly Payne Madison, that means that was her married name when she got married, but she used to be Dolly Payne, was born in North Carolina in 1768. So when she was born, she was Dolly Payne, not Dolly Madison. Is there a reason why you were looking at the wall over there instead of looking at your book? Everyone needs to be looking at their book and following along as I read, please. When Dolly was a child, the War for Independence was being fought. Dolly's family had moved to Virginia and lived on a plantation where slaves did most of the work. The children in towns all around her missed their fathers or brothers who were fighting for America's freedom. "Why do you not wear a uniform and fight in the war?" Dolly may have asked her father. Does somebody know? They've already given you a hint of why he didn't fight in the war.
She's a girl.
He is a girl?
I thought
Her father is not a girl. I'm asking about her father. Why would her father not have fought in the war?
he's a slave.
No, he's not. You're not paying attention and understanding what I'm reading if you think he's a slave.
He was a Quaker.
He was a Quaker. Quakers did not fight, remember? When we learned about William Penn, we said Quakers did not believe in wars and fighting battles, right? They lived on a plantation where there were slaves. It did not mean her father was a slave. Okay? We've already said that they were a Quaker because it says life as a Quaker. Right?
Yeah.
Alright, turn the page. Since Dolly was born into a Quaker family, her father and brothers were not soldiers. Quakers do not believe in fighting in wars, no matter what the reason might be, her father would answer. Because of his strong Quaker beliefs, Dolly's father decided to take care of his plantation, and he moved his family to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I just need to make sure where I'm supposed to stop, because I've already forgotten. Okay, I remember now. All right, marriage. Quakers wore plain clothes with little color, but Dolly was still known for her beauty, kind manners, and cheerful personality. When Dolly grew up, she met and married John Todd, a Quaker lawyer from Philadelphia. They soon had 2 sons. A terrible disease called yellow fever broke out. Sadly, her husband and one of her sons died from this illness on the same day. Many of her friends and other family members died as well. The next year, she met a man named James Madison, a politician who was also a wealthy Virginia planter. They were married and lived in Philadelphia for several years. Life changed for Dolly Madison. Please go to the top of the next page. Life changed for Dolly Madison because her new husband was not a Quaker. She gave up her Quaker ways. So that means she didn't have to wear plain clothes anymore. Remember, they dressed very plainly? Soon after the wedding, Mr. Madison retired from politics and moved to Virginia. However, he did not stay retired very long. His friend, Thomas Jefferson, became the third president of the United States. President Jefferson asked James Madison to serve as his Secretary of State. Mr. Madison accepted, and soon he and Dolly were living in Washington, D.C. All right, before we read Living in a Capital, let's go back to the other page, 146, and read the important names together. Everyone together. Read together, please. Dolly Madison, the wife of President James Madison, whose courage and kindness made her loved by Americans. James Madison, the fourth President of the United States. First Lady, the wife of the President of the United States. So no matter who's the president, his wife is called the First Lady. War of 1812. A war between Britain and the United States over the right to trade with other countries. So this war happened after the War for Independence. We already had our independence, and England was causing us trouble with trading with other countries, so we went to war with them again. Francis Scott Key, the writer of the Star-Spangled Banner. And that's what we sing as our national anthem to this day. But did you know it was not written during the War for Independence? It was written during the War of 1812. All right, House of Representatives, elected officials who represent certain areas of their home states in the United States Congress. All right, so that's the legislative, right? Living in the Capitol. Now we'll start there. Oh wait, let's do the important words and the important places first. This is on the bottom of page 147. We're going to read them together. Diplomat, a person who represents a foreign country. Inauguration, ceremony in which the person who won the election becomes President of the United States. And the important place? Fort McHenry, place where a major battle was fought in the War of 1812. And that was the fort that was being attacked when Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. All right, living in the Capitol. While living in the Capitol and being around the important people of Washington, Dolly Madison enjoyed her new life. Because President Jefferson's wife had died, he asked Mrs. Madison to help host social events and parties. She soon became known for her ability to entertain both important diplomats and regular guests. Remember, a diplomat is a person who represents a foreign country. So maybe they're the diplomat to France or the diplomat to Germany. All right. Next, Mr. Madison ran for President of the United States and was elected in 1808. It is said that he was popular because everyone loved his wife. In 1809, she hosted the very first, turn the page, the very first inaugural ball on the day of her husband's inauguration. Her beautiful velvet gown was much different than the plain clothes she once wore as a Quaker child. Mrs. Madison enjoyed decorating the rooms of the President's mansion, which we call the White House today. She was happy with her role as First Lady. All right, so inauguration is what they call the day that the president who has just been elected swears that he's going to uphold all the laws and support the United States, etc. And we will read what he says in another section. Or maybe we already read it under George Washington.
Wait, what?
I do solemnly swear to uphold
No, we
and
didn't
defend
read
the
that.
Constitution.
We didn't read that.
I think we did, but anyway.
No.
Inauguration Day, that's when he did it. But she, Dolly Madison, when her husband became the fourth president, she held the first inauguration ball as a celebration after that happened. Can you please pay attention? You're not. All right, let's read Dolly Madison's party. This is sort of interesting. What might you have eaten at one of Dolly Madison's parties? Since she loved all kinds of sweets, you would have had many kinds of cakes and pastries. Other favorites were cookies, jellies, fruits, and nuts. She had her cooks make a spread called fairy butter, which smelled like oranges. Dolly Madison also served ice cream in the White House, but not the kind of ice cream you could eat. Oyster ice cream was her favorite.
It's
Ooh.
What's
Oyster ice cream.
Oh, but not the kind of ice cream you would eat. Oyster ice cream, that sounds so disgusting. All right, War of 1812. That's where we're going to begin reading next. The War of 1812. After James Madison became president in 1809, Britain again tried to keep America from buying and selling supplies with the rest of the world. English ships captured American sailors and forced them to work for England. England also helped Native Americans block the colonists who were trying to expand to the west. James Madison finally declared war on England. It was called the War of 1812, even though it lasted until 1815. Some people call this the Second War for Independence. In 1814, the British placed troops near the President's mansion in Washington, D.C. Dolly Madison was worried about many historic items which were in the home. She gathered some of these items before leaving. Mrs. Madison is best known for saving the famous Gilbert Stuart portrait of George Washington. She knew that many great pieces of American art hung in the President's mansion, but this was the most important since George Washington was known as the father of our country. Mrs. Madison had a worker carefully cut the painting out of the frame. She rolled it up and had 2 men take it to safety. Among the other items she saved were silverware and important official papers. Dolly Madison became a national hero for her bravery. It is said that when she left the President's mansion, Mrs. Madison made sure dinner had been cooked and was waiting on the table just in case her husband and his men came back. The dinner was eaten that evening, but not by the President. The British entered the President's mansion that evening, ate the dinner, and set the home on fire. Only the outer walls were left standing. The British also burned the Capitol building and the Library of Congress. British troops again outnumbered the American troops, just as they had done in the War for Independence. Even though the American troops were less prepared, they would not give up. Finally, at the Battle of Fort McHenry, the Americans were able to hold off the British, causing them to retreat. During this famous battle, Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, our national anthem. What a great moment for our country. A treaty was signed in February of 1815, officially ending the war. And that's where we'll stop.